On the night of September 7th, 1996, Las Vegas was doing what Las Vegas always does, blazing with neon light, humming with the energy of a city that never stops moving, packed with people chasing money and excitement, and the particular kind of electric feeling that only the Strip can produce. Tupac Shakur had been there all evening, attending the Bruce Seldon vs. Mike Tyson boxing match at the MGM Grand with Death Row Records founder Marion Suge Knight, surrounded by an entourage riding the wave of success that had made Tupac the most electrifying and controversial rapper on the planet. He was 25 years old. He had sold tens of millions of records. He was Black America's poet, prophet, and rebel all rolled into one. A man whose words meant something to millions of people who felt unseen and unheard by the country they lived in. And at approximately 11:15 p.m. on that September night, while riding in a BMW on Flamingo Road with Suge Knight, a white Cadillac pulled alongside the car and someone inside opened fire. Tupac Shakur was shot 4 times. 6 days later, on September 13th, 1996, he was dead. He was 25 years old, and for nearly 30 years, nobody was ever arrested for killing him. Until September 29th, 2023, the day that changed everything. Duane Keffe D. Davis, a 60-year-old former Crips gang leader from Compton, California, was arrested in Henderson, Nevada, and charged with first-degree murder for his alleged role in the drive-by shooting that killed Tupac Shakur. He was the first and remains the only person ever charged in connection with one of the most famous murders in American history. Davis has pleaded not guilty and has been held without bail since his arrest. Prosecutors have claimed that Davis orchestrated the murder and provided the gun used in the shooting. The arrest sent shockwaves through the hip-hop community, through true crime circles, and through the broader American public that had grown up with Tupac's music and the unresolved mystery of his death. After 27 years of rumors, documentaries, conspiracy theories, and unanswered questions, a man was finally in handcuffs. A BC News Rolling Stone. The story of how Davis became the prime suspect is one of the most extraordinary self-incrimination cases in American criminal history. In 2018, Davis appeared in a USA Network documentary called Unsolved, in which he claimed to have been sitting in the front passenger seat of the car that pulled alongside Tupac's BMW on the night of the shooting, with Tupac's murderer sitting in the back seat. He declined to name the shooter, citing street code, but he didn't stop there. He wrote a memoir titled Compton Street Legend, published in 2019, in which he described in remarkable detail the circumstances surrounding the rapper's death. He gave interviews. He spoke publicly about that night with a candor that left investigators and legal observers genuinely stunned. For years, law enforcement had been building a case, and then, in July 2023, Las Vegas police executed a search warrant on the home of Davis's wife in Henderson, Nevada. 2 months later, he was under arrest. Wikipedia. The case against Davis rests heavily on those public statements. Prosecutors pointed to the memoir and the documentary interviews as key evidence of his knowledge of and involvement in the crime. His alleged co-conspirators, including his nephew Orlando Anderson, who had been involved in a physical altercation with Tupac inside the MGM Grand just hours before the shooting, are all dead, unable to testify or contradict Davis's account. Orlando Anderson was killed in an unrelated gang shootout in 1998. The others, allegedly present in the white Cadillac that night, have also since died. Davis, at 60 years old, is the last man standing from that car, and the prosecution believes his own words have trapped him. Wikipedia. The defense, however, has fought the case aggressively from the beginning. Davis's attorneys argued that investigators had identified several witnesses who could prove Davis was not present in Las Vegas at the time of Shakur's killing, and that new evidence had emerged suggesting someone else entirely had orchestrated the shooting. The defense alleged that Reggie Wright Jr., who worked security for Death Row Records, and his security team were actually responsible for the murder, though no backup evidence was publicly presented to support this claim. Defense attorneys also argued repeatedly that Davis's public statements were exaggerated, unreliable, and not to be taken as literal truth. The book, they contended, was storytelling. The documentary interview was bravado, a man talking big for the cameras, not a confession. In January 2026, they attempted to have all evidence gathered against Davis suppressed, filing a motion arguing that investigators had engaged in misconduct when obtaining search warrants. Clark County District Court Judge Carly Kearney denied the motion, ruling that the defense had failed to demonstrate investigators acted in bad faith, a major loss for Davis and his legal team that brought the case significantly closer to trial. News 3LV+2. The road to that trial has been extraordinarily complicated. Davis's murder trial was initially scheduled to begin on June 3, 2024, then pushed to November 2024, then to February 9, 2026, and most recently to August 10, 2026. Delayed each time by the sheer volume of evidence, the complexity of the case, and multiple changes in Davis's legal representation. Davis changed defense attorneys in August 2025, hiring Robert Draxovich and Michael Pendulo after being found guilty in a separate case of fighting another inmate at the Clark County Detention Center, a conviction that added 16 to 40 months to his prison time on top of the murder charges he already faces. Through all of it, Davis has remained incarcerated, now held at Nevada's High Desert State Prison, maintaining his innocence, while the legal machinery of the state of Nevada grinds slowly toward what promises to be one of the most watched trials in American history. THN 97 LA Mag. The case carries layers of complexity that go far beyond the immediate charges. In a 2008 interview with law enforcement, in which Davis was reportedly serving as a proffer, he alleged that Sean Diddy Combs had offered a $1 million bounty to have both Suge Knight and Tupac Shakur killed during the height of the East Coast-West Coast hip-hop feud of the mid-1990s. Combs has strongly denied any involvement and has never been charged in connection with the murder. But the claim has lingered for years in the shadows of the case, and in October 2024, the family of Tupac Shakur reportedly hired an investigator to examine whether the murder could be connected to Combs, adding yet another dimension to a case already overflowing with conspiracy, allegation, and unresolved shadow. The East Coast-West Coast rivalry, Death Row Records, the Crips, a boxing match, a drive-by on the Strip, nearly 3 decades of silence. And now, finally, a courtroom. Wikipedia. What makes this case so uniquely powerful in the American imagination is not just the identity of the victim. Though Tupac Shakur's cultural significance cannot be overstated, his music having shaped American hip-hop, American politics, and the lived experience of an entire generation in ways that still resonate 30 years after his death. It is the combination of factors that make it unlike any other true crime case. The length of time that passed before an arrest, the extraordinary self-incriminating nature of the evidence, the web of names and alliances and feuds that the case pulls into the light, and the sheer hunger of an American public that has been asking one question since September 1996 and has never received a satisfactory answer. Who killed Tupac? The trial scheduled for August 10, 2026 in Las Vegas, Nevada may finally, after 30 years of silence, begin to answer that question. Whether Duane Keffe D. Davis is convicted or acquitted, whether the full truth of that September night finally emerges in a courtroom or retreats back into the shadows where it has lived for 3 decades, One thing is certain. America will be watching. Every single word.